In the building.
I'm excited too.
Jason Law in the building as well. Shout out to everybody in the building.
Yes, we're here.
Yes.
Don't leave out Miss Moneybags is in the building.
And yes, Miss Moneybags is in the building.
Moneybags in the building.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Thank you, everybody, for coming in today. I want to give a big special shout out to DJ UncleTone for the link ups. And LSD for the link ups as well.
And Miss Moneybags.
And Miss Moneybags. I'm so sorry. I'm all over the place. I'm getting myself together. Right? I'm just thinking about vaginas. I'm just very excited.
Right.
But shout out to LSD, Miss Moneybags, and DJ UncleTone, and Dr. Amir Marashi for coming through.
Yes.
And spitting some knowledge to us. You know.
Just keep saying you're so excited about vaginas. It's just
I am. I mean,
I've
I get
never
excited about
heard
my own.
Ever be that excited about vaginas?
I get excited to shave my own vagina just to see it every now and again.
Why do you shave if you don't have? Never mind. Be quiet.
I gotta be prepared.
We have an incoming call already. I know the hell we don't.
We do not have an incoming call already. Are we taking the call? Oh man.
You haven't
Not
even
yet.
asked your question.
We haven't even
we
asked
didn't even
questions.
start the topic. We didn't tell you who
We
he was,
didn't even
what
get
he
a
do,
chance
nothing.
to introduce our guests. So let's give a big round of applause for Dr. Amir Marashi coming through today.
Let's try today. Does it work?
No, but we have our hands
So we have sound effects.
in the replace of sound effects. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we really appreciate you coming through. Well, we've done a little bit of research. We've been looking around. We see that you're called the Vagina Whisperer. Tell us how that came about and how that name ended up sticking to you and you've adapted to whispering vaginas around the nation.
Well, I mean, thank God this helps taking the taboo off of the whole topic of cosmetic gynecology. Initially, it was the nonprofit work that I did in Haiti after the earthquake.
Oh, wow. What happened?
And so after the earthquake, I would see all different kind of patients, of course, because there were no other doctors. And there was a patient that her husband and all her family left her because her vagina just smelled really bad.
Wow.
And she would stink up the room. That's what they said about her. Oh. And they told me, maybe you can help her. And of course, you don't have any ultrasound machine, nothing there. And I examined her and I realized that there is a fistula, which means her rectum, where you basically defecate from, exactly, it's connected to her vagina from the birth. And that's why, from giving birth, and that's why she was passing minimal amount of a stool through the vagina, and that's what made her smell really bad.
Oh, so the same scent that she would pass through the rectum is going through the other way.
So I picked that up and I treated her, and she was so happy. So one of the nurses told me, you know what, you're some sort of a vagina whisperer. You're awesome. And that just stuck with me. And the designer vagina fashion show I had, New York Post, everybody wrote about the vagina whisperer. So it became my name.
Yes. We've been reading up. I do hear that this is actually a really, really exciting thing. A lot of people, they're looking for cosmetic procedures, or they're always inquiring about how to change things about themselves or change certain things that they want to when it comes to their vagina, but they don't really know how to or what type of procedures they should be getting. So what are some of like the current trending procedures that women are going for? I know like the vagina labiaplasty where they're taking off skin and stuff like that. But like what are some other common procedures that you're starting to see? Like,
I mean, labiaplasty is really big. Vaginoplasty, of course, as well, means that tightening up the vagina, which a lot of women don't know about it that much, especially after having kids and after, having sex. After a while, you feel like you want to make the vagina tighter, which could be done both surgically and with laser. And also, the other thing that's really trending is improvement of orgasms by injections. Because
yes, the forced orgasms.
Exactly.
So the improving of orgasms by injection. Like, so a lot of women feel like they can get orgasms from getting, from penetration and stuff like that. Is it the same type of process, or how does that, is it the same type of orgasm even really? Like, how does that work when it comes to getting a forced orgasm?
Depending on what kind of literature you read, most women get the clitoral orgasm.
Okay.
But 80 to 90% of women don't ever get a vaginal orgasm, meaning that by having intercourse.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to make better by injecting the vagina, meaning that we kind of amplify the G spot, which is the part in the vagina that has a lot of sensation, and we kind of neglect it. So when you make it better and protrude it with your own blood and sometimes fillers, then you're gonna get much better orgasms.
So it makes the vagina, I guess, more susceptible to someone, I guess,
Does it make it, like,
making
more
them orgasm, like, or
sensitive?
sensitive in a sense. Yeah.
Makes
Okay.
that area of the vagina that has a lot of sensation already, but most of the time, depending on your partner, it may not ever even come in with contact with the penis. It makes that area protruded. So you see the top part of the vagina. If the vagina is like usually like this, it goes down. If the patient is laying down in front of you, it goes like this. So the penis is supposed to really rub against this top part of the vagina,
Yeah.
right? And this is where the G spot is. So if the clitoris is out here and the
It's
anus
supposed to
is
go
down here,
in
exactly.
and then up.
Exactly. So, and that's why most penises, you see, they have a curve up. Because anatomically, we're supposed to really stimulate this area of G spot.
Oh, so we're supposed to be dealing with the men with the curves. I get
Yeah,
it. Okay, now it's making more sense.
But not the swing curve like we're throwing like the pitch out there like this one.
And
no,
also,
that's dangerous.
For
Don't
you
do
guys
that.
who thought that you were doing something out there, you guys need to have your angles on point. Did you guys just see where
Wow.
he said that G spot was?
You just sending shots at everybody.
I'm sending shots.
And she should.
Because you shouldn't be thrusting straight and thinking that you're hitting something.
Yeah.
He just explained where the G spot was.
It's kinda
so if you're
painful.
going straight, you're not gonna hit it.
I mean, you know, if the angle of the vagina is right, and when we are, let's say, before having kids, if the angle is right, you will hit it when you go straight.
Oh, really?
But
Okay.
it depends on the size of the penis and everything. So what
Okay.
we do with G-spot injection is that we inject your own blood, the plasma part of it, which is PRP, or if you heard, like they do in vampire facial.
Yeah, I
as
was
well.
thinking about
Yeah, I
that.
wanna
Like, is
get
it like
that
a
too.
vampire facial for your
the
vagina?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Got you.
So you inject that part. So instead of being just one spot, it becomes like a huge spot. And doesn't matter. Even the guy can be blind. And
Oh,
don't
so
go
he's
for
not
the
gonna
G
miss
spot.
it.
Yeah, he's not gonna miss it.
Okay.
Okay, no matter which way he swings, he's
This should
bound to
be
hit
in the
something.
hospital. Like, this should be an automatic. You get your GYN checkup and you get a vaginal rejuvenation moment.
All at the same
And they
time.
put all that together at the same time. And insurance should just be good with that. You know the crazy part about it? The first time I ever heard of like any form of vaginal rejuvenation was Sky from Black Ink. Because
Oh,
she
yeah,
went
she
and she
talked
was
about
like,
that.
I got a new passy. Everything like that, yeah. But my thing is, what's the worst case that you've seen? Like, you were like, oh no. Is there any time where you'll be like, oh no, this is something that I'm not ready for? Like, you got, I guess, the crazy roast beef that was there, and you were like,
Yeah,
no,
those are out
I don't
there.
do roast beef. We can't help you, sis. You got to go somewhere else because this is a little out of my hands.
You know what? Honestly, I've never said no to anybody. I like challenging cases, you know, and everybody thinks this is just about cosmetic surgeries, but I have a bunch of patients with female genital mutilation that they lost the
Yeah.
clitoris because of the customs that they had and everything.
Or sometimes it's tradition as well, where they're
wow.
mutilating the clitoris.
I have heard of that before.
Have you seen a lot of cases where it was, tribal and like, because of their culture, they, had this happen to them?
Unfortunately, I have. And I
Wow.
mean, fortunately, I was able to help a lot of them. So that's...
Wow.
So when it comes down to that, do you like, it's going to sound crazy to say, but do you like build a new clitoris onto where it used to be? Or like, how does that work?
Well, I mean, reality is that the clitoris, they are not surgically removing the entire clitoris. There is still the base of the clitoris inside, so you can always dissect and open up and try to, expose some of it that they haven't cut. The other thing, you can also inject the same thing, the plasma that I told you, like vampire facial, around that area, and that's going to rejuvenate the area and they feel better. A lot of these patients, it's not just the clitoris. They made the vagina so tight because they sutured it together, because you're supposed to only have babies through there and have, get your period. And, I mean, in the cultures that do this. So when those patients, I try to open up the vagina so they can actually enjoy sex. Because I think everybody needs to enjoy sex.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Everybody needs
Amen.
to enjoy sex.
That's That needs to be the model of the show.
yes.
Everybody needs to enjoy sex. So we got a
I
third
agree.
one.
I'm with that.
It's nothing wrong, but it's
I
time.
agree.
And what was the one from last week that we had?
Definitely.
So we got 3 models now. There's nothing wrong, but it's time.
Yep.
What was the second one?
Wait, it was one before that. There's nothing wrong with this time, but this one is.
Now everyone
Everyone
needs to
enjoys
enjoy
sex.
sex.
I think we should
This
just
is our
stick
third
with that.
motto.
We need to put that on the.
We're taking this. We
We
gotta
need to
put
put
it on
that right there on the flyer for the show. Everyone needs
t-shirts.
to enjoy sex.
Everyone needs to enjoy sex.
So-
There's nothing
I
wrong
mean,
with
it's
it.
your right, honestly, as a man or woman. Why should men always come and women shouldn't come?
Oh, hallelujah. Oh, my God.
That's-
I
Where's the
second
button
that.
for it?
Oh.
Because I need gunshots on this. Like, say it again. Say it again. Because these people
Yes.
out here
Men and
disrespectful
women
and they don't understand.
Then there's a lot of guys who just they don't necessarily really care if a woman's getting off or not. They're just in it just for them to enjoy themselves. So
And then
it's
they'll
like,
brag later and say something like, yeah, I'm that dude.
or
I'm
they'll
that man. Like,
right, or they'll
but
think
you-
they have done something to make a female have an orgasm, but
didn't
it
do
probably
nothing.
really wasn't.
Do you
So-
think because they just were never really educated on how this is all really done, they just jump on something and they just keep jumping
don't
on
know-
it,
yeah.
thinking that it's happening, and they've done that same horrible thing to woman
Same
after
horrible
woman.
thing.
You know what I mean? So they don't know. You know,
You know what? I mean, at the end of the day, they basically screw themselves up because, you know, this is, yeah, you think that you are doing it and you're enjoying it. But you know what? That woman wouldn't want to be with you after like 2, 3, 4 times. You
once,
Amen.
once,
don't really take care
Once.
of
I'm
them.
not calling you back.
once.
I may be nice to give you a second time to see if it was like an off day for you. But once you off on the second, oh no, you're off the team.
Don't you find that a lot of women, though, you know, don't know their bodies and, you know, don't know their physiology,
Yeah.
you know?
You know, that is the unfortunate thing. And that's why I'm trying to take the taboo off of the topic and try to talk to women to let them know. Because, you know, there are a lot of things that women themselves they can do to make their orgasm better. Because, you know what, if the guy doesn't know any better, you know what, you need to take initiative yourself. And the thing is that a lot of women, they are, oh, you know what, he's the father of my kids, who cares, let's just have sex. As long
more
as
than
he's
that.
happy, I cook for him. As long as he's happy, he doesn't go somewhere else. But why shouldn't you enjoy this yourself
Right.
too?
Right.
Exactly.
You know, you should really enjoy sex.
Now, yeah. And I have another question. When it comes to, because I noticed when you guys need to go ahead and follow Dr. Amir Marashi, NYC Gyno. You guys will be able to see him on Instagram. But no, I noticed on your profile that you had different locations slightly posted up at the beginning of the bio of your profile. Is there any type of requirements or any type of demand that exists amongst women when it comes to living and existing in different locations versus like, because I noticed I used to live in Miami. So for me, I miss
City
Miami.
of loose
Oh my God.
vaginas. City of loose vaginas, Miami.
Yes,
I
it is.
miss Miami. Oh my God. But no, I do understand when it comes to living in a certain climate, you have to condition yourself a certain way. Like I took way more showers in Miami than I do while I'm here in New York. Like you're maintaining yourself in a different way. You're wearing different types of clothing. Like, is there any type of demand that females would have? Or like what would be like the biggest thing that females would request in these, I guess, different areas?
You know, I mean, labiaplasty is really big in Miami, but reality is that because I specialize and I do only cosmetic gynecology, plus some pelvic pain and endometriosis, because these are the only two. I stopped delivering babies 3 years ago. Since these are the only two things I do, you know, I get all different kind of patients in New York, Miami, and even in Dubai, because I see patients there too.
Dubai. I just came back from Dubai. Oh my God,
Oh,
it's
nice.
amazing.
Yeah.
Great experience.
This is the good time to go to Dubai.
I was there in September. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful.
good.
Do they have surgeries like that out there too? Because it seems that they're very conservative. I would never like Dubai would kind of like be like one of the last places that I would think about them asking for like
Yeah, because they're like
surgery,
deeply rooted in
like-
their cultures and things like that, and they kind of really don't. Well, I'm gonna say old Dubai, not per se new Dubai, but I know they're really based on customs.
No, of
So-
course, they all want to be, look, the religious woman, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, all those places, the thing is that they cover themselves they keep themselves away from other men, but they want to be perfect for their
For
own
their
man,
man.
of course. Oh my God, you got to see.
They had a few lingerie shops and stuff around there. That's why I was
My
just like,
nurse was telling me, do you know these? Did you see her underwear? I'm like, no, I don't really pay attention because they usually take the underwear off when I see the patient.
Right.
She's like, oh, that thing is from this company in London. They custom make it and it's like 1,500 pounds, which is like $2,000 or something.
They
like
wear
that.
a perla, and underneath they're wearing Chanel suits. Like,
They better
they're
go.
high.
me and my cousin, we discovered this like weird lingerie shop. It was like in the corner, all the way in the back. It was near the hotel, and we were just like, "Oh my God, these women are wearing this." And the guy in the store, he told us, he's like, "Yeah, they really wear it for their husbands and stuff like that." We're like, "Okay, it makes sense." So it's like, it goes further besides of what you actually see what's in front of you. You know,
Exactly.
You see that women are still sexual, they're still aroused, they're still trying to be attractive or attracted to their mate, which is generally what all women want across the world. So I don't see why they wouldn't get something
Of
like that done
course.
out
No,
there.
they-
So
they
I can
take care of
kind of get it.
themselves.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
So I know I asked you before the show, but I just want the viewers to be able to hear it. What is the weirdest, I guess, shape request that you had somebody ask you for as far as vaginas go?
Or they say, I want to look like
Because
that.
I always thought they'll be like, I want a Kim K,
I want to look
Like
like,
who?
like the
Like,
porn movie.
what's the
I want a
reference?
Kim K vagina, and it's kind of like, so you just looking around shopping at vaginas,
Right, like how did
online,
you come to what
Like I
vagina
want
you
that
actually want?
vagina.
You know,
It's just-
most patients just say, oh, they want a really tight vagina and I want the lips to be hidden because they want everything to be like tucked in and like a porn star vagina, they call it. But
Ow.
the weirdest thing I heard was the patient who wanted her vagina to look like an anus from outside even. I'm like, why?
yeah, that.
So she wanted the vagina to look like
An anus from outside.
Like
Now,
that.
I understand her logic only because some guys say that when they're entering the anus, it's tighter than
But she
entering a
wanted it
vagina.
to look like one.
But to look, then I don't know.
That's what she told me. She's like, you know what? My husband loves to go the back door, so I want to have two of them for him.
All right, girl.
that's a different type of
Oh,
love.
that's love.
That's a real love.
Oh, that's real love.
Cause I don't think
my
my love's
God.
gonna last. I'm like, listen here, you gonna have to work what we have, cause
That's real love.
That is real love.
So, when I noticed that one of the topics we wanted to talk about also was cryotherapy. Now, I could be completely wrong about this, but I'm just going off of basically what I think I
Like
know.
cryotherapy.
Cryo. Okay.
Yeah, I
cryotherapy.
thought that had something to do with eggs or freezing eggs or something like that. Am I wrong or correct or like what
Yeah,
is cryotherapy?
so,
Cryotherapy.
So
Sorry.
cryo means freezing. So anything you freeze is going to be cryo. So as you said, actually you can freeze your eggs. That's cryopreservation, meaning that you want to freeze your eggs and keep them on the ice.
Okay,
So
good.
that's one thing. The cryotherapy, which usually the gynecologists talk about, is to eliminate, precancerous cells in the cervix.
Okay.
So when you
Okay.
do the pap smear and it's abnormal, depending on how abnormal it is, sometimes you may have to do a cryotherapy, sometimes you may have to do a leap surgery. So
Oh, so the leap surgery, that's the removal of the cancerous
removal of a
cells.
piece of the cervix, yes.
Okay.
wow.
So
'Cause I was really thinking like you put the vagina on ice or something
I
when
was
he said
thinking
it like
like
that. That's what I thought
popsicle.
it. So I thought it was like somebody sitting and like how they steam vaginas,
Like
like so you're sitting
popsicles,
here
right?
like this open. And there's like something blowing cold air to your vagina. That's what I honestly was thinking when I first read it.
popsicles,
So I was like, so we're freezing vaginas. That's
Believe
different.
it or not, that exists too.
See?
That exists
Oh,
too.
Lord.
Freezing vaginas?
Somebody came up with that too.
I can't sit there for that. I can't. That would drive me insane. Of all things, to have a cold. I don't even like when
So
guys
it's
have
like
ice.
vagina popsicles.
See, I'm not as bad.
What-
That's worse. I'm not that bad saying they
Vagina
sit on ice.
popsicles.
Vagina popsicles. You got it.
But this cryotherapy, is it just as effective for endometriosis? And what is endometriosis exactly?
So cryotherapy is actually for it's done on the cervix. It's not for endometriosis. Cryotherapy is for abnormal cells in the cervix. So when you have, let's say, when you have precancerous cells, you can have CIN1, CIN2, CIN3. So if it's like just CIN1, means that is beginning of it, you can get rid of it with cryotherapy. If it's more than that, it's best to go directly to LEAP, which means that you take a piece of the cervix out.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Like a biopsy.
Like a deeper biopsy, yeah.
Okay.
Deeper biopsy.
Oh, interesting.
And we are very fortunate because 50 years ago, a lot of people died of the biggest killer for women was cervical cancer. But if you do your pap smears regularly, there is no way you ever get cervical cancer, because what's going to happen is that we stop it at some point with cryotherapy or LEAP or one of these procedures.
But it's like the pap smear is like the active testing.
It's
of
very
the area.
important,
Yeah.
yes.
Can you please say that again? Because I know women that go years without getting a pap, and I'm
Oh,
like,
no.
what are you thinking?
Oh no.
No, trust me, especially, whether you do have sex or not, you should get pap smears regularly.
I agree.
If you do have sex, for sure, it's very, very important.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have sex, it's very important. But because it comes from HPV, and you can get cervical cancer, so it's not about, oh, my mom had it, that's why I got it. No, we all get it from HPV and sex, but if you check for it and you see abnormalities, you can easily reverse it.
So,
But you have to be able to
question
check
for you,
for it.
since we're on the subject matter. Are there any type of cells or anything like that remain dormant in the vagina? Like, I know with certain STIs, things like that, they can remain dormant for years and then they'll flare up, and that's when most people actually want to go get tested and find out. So is there anything like that in the actual cervical area?
Right. So HPV itself is a virus. So there is no getting rid of the HPV. And even cryotherapy or LEAP surgery, it's getting rid of the cells that HPV already changed. So
Got you. Okay.
exactly. So, but the HPV itself is there, unfortunately.
Vanessa, can I just ask another about endometriosis for women who don't know what that is? Because I know a few women who have it. And, I asked you prior to that, like, is it always supposed to be painful? Because all of these women talk about the great deal of pain that they're in.
Right. Endometriosis is really important. I tell my patients all the time. The current statistics is that 1 out of 10 women has endometriosis. Now, how do you know you have endometriosis? And I think it's even more than that, but we don't have enough research on it. So how do you know you may have endometriosis? And you got to go to your doctor. If you have really painful periods, if you get bad cramps, if you get bloating, if you get pain with deep intercourse, if you feel like before your period you're...
That's not even funny.
That's not true.
What happened?
He said, that's me, baby. Like, no, you're not the
Going
pain.
so deep.
No, you're not the pain. This is not a good
create
pain. This is a bad
endometriosis.
pain.
This is a bad pain. You really
not a good
feel like,
pain.
you feel like you want to jump up. So these kind of pains, if you have them, or even during your periods, if you have pain with defecation, meaning that you go number 2, you feel like you're getting pain, or sometimes with urinating during the periods, you have pain. These are really, really important. You got to talk to your doctor. And I tell my patient, do not take no for an answer, because pain, there is a reason for any kind of pelvic pain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get to the bottom of it.
Find the root.
Don't be like, oh, because it could be fibroids, it could be cyst, it could be, a rupture cyst. It could be endometriosis. I'm not telling you it's going to be definitely endometriosis, but make sure you get a sonogram done, your doctor examines you, and you get to the bottom of it. And sometimes if they don't get to the bottom of it, get a second or third opinion. So.
Because
Definitely
vaginal
important.
pain is not normal, right?
No pain is normal.
Well,
honestly, no pain is
Yeah.
normal. It's just, I feel like in our society, we're trying to be like, oh, you have pain, just take pain medication and you're going to be fine. Or sometimes we self-medicate ourselves.
Yeah,
That's
a lot
the
of women do that
problem.
too.
I tell
much
people,
so.
you have a brain tumor, God forbid, in your brain. You can keep taking Advil, Percocet. The
not gonna
pain
do
is going to go away, but the tumor is there.
It's
So.
gonna stay there.
Because my thing was, honestly, I could say, I had an abortion years ago, and I decided to go on Mirena after that. When I would have sex, I would feel like I would kind of be dying, because I'd be like, okay, you're hitting a different type of spot. Like, get out of there, please. Because I would always think that it's like the actual IUD itself moving or shifting or something like that. So is it possible that that could have been one of the issues at hand, or would it specifically just be the IUD?
Well, sometimes the IUD could be misplaced, or let's say it comes down a little bit and it could cause pain. But you got to make sure you get a sonogram done to see where the IUD is sitting, and
Just to make sure you can.
Oh yeah, every
exactly.
time I go, I'll be like, "Can you give me the X-ray for this here? Because I just need to see if this is in place. Just want to make sure." Had me a crazy night the other night. Just want to be sure.
I don't blame you.
Because things like that you really can't play with.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. But instead of when it comes to pain, now I am a person who's not having sex right now. I'm interested in squirting and having more orgasms. I know we talked about the forced orgasm where you guys can actually come to Dr.Amir Marashi and actually get your vaginas together so you guys can have those orgasms later on. But when it comes to squirting, is it pee or is it not pee? Like what kind of liquid?
Yes, the seventh wonder of the world. Because I'm so tired of niggas being like,
Because I don't believe
Don't
that
pee on me.
females are squirting. Like I've been on sets in different environments where females were squirting, and I personally believe that this was pee. It looks slightly
Me too.
yellow. It looks like a mix of yellow and white. So I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
know
Like
what
what's
that
coming
is.
out?
Mine is
Sometimes
clear. I don't
because
know
you
what
can
that is.
pee clear. If you drink enough water, you'll go to the bathroom and your pee will be clear. So what is it exactly?
Yeah, let's break this down because
So,
I
you know,
got viewers.
So
Let's-
this is actually very important, escorting, and people are divided on it. But I tell you, it could be, some of it could be pee as well. But this is what happens. If you really get a good orgasm, if you really get a good orgasm, which means that your pelvic floor muscles, you feel them contracting, and that's when you get a good orgasm. You feel them really getting hard.
So
and
is that when the vagina hole is like is that when we're forcing ourselves to open and close? Is that like the same thing?
Exactly, but you're not forcing it. When you actually, it happens
on its own.
Organically.
involuntarily. So when you really come, when you really get that orgasm, that's what happens inside the vagina. Now remember, around the vagina there are a couple of different glands. Now there is a gland on top that has, basically is connected to the vagina. If this orgasm is really good and you really get those muscles, contracted, they could squeeze any fluid that's sitting inside this gland, and that can come out, and that could be squirting. Now
Okay.
inside that gland you don't have that much fluid. So I've seen videos on,
Yeah, there's porn videos out there of
different
girls just
websites,
squirting,
porn
and it would
videos.
just be like
So if
they're
you
peeing.
see
Yeah.
is a lot of fluid, that is
Yeah.
probably urine.
That's what I
But
say.
A smaller amount of, a small amount. But remember, when you get that kind of contraction, sometimes you actually pee yourself too. So
Okay.
it could be a mixture of both. But you
Okay.
can definitely, there is another fluid in these glands that can come out. And that's the fluid that's coming out during the sex and makes you moisturized as well too. Parts of it.
Because it's a different type of feeling. Well, to me at least, because I guess I'm a part of Skirt Gang. Shout out to Honey Glazed Turkey,
Yes.
Skirt Gang.
Yes.
But for me,
Skirt.
it kind of feels like the tightening of me like having to hold pee, but then it's like it's a different type of feeling.
And it releases.
It's like
everything.
like I'm relieved. Like I'm like, oh, thank God. Because if you hold it, honestly speaking, for me, if I want to come and I can't, it's painful for me. Like it'll be like, okay, get away from me. Everybody gotta go. Everybody get away from me because you gotta die. Everybody gotta die now. Get on my nerves. Don't talk to me. Nothing. I'm aggravated. I'm not relieved. But when I have to go to the bathroom, it's a whole different type of feeling. It's more like, okay, bathroom. That's it. So that's why I tell people all the time. I think it's a difference because it's a different type of feeling.
It is, it just, and everybody could be different, but reality is that it only happens with real orgasm, I mean, I'm sure there are some videos that somebody just pees and that's basically, they call it escorting. But if you get a good orgasm that you really contract those muscles, the fluid is going to come out that you have, and maybe some of your urine is going to come out too, especially if you're squatting. If you're sitting on top of the guy, basically riding the guy, what's going to happen, you are in the position that your bladder can easily release urine as well. So what's going to happen with these contractions, out of a sudden you just involuntarily you can pass some urine as well. But it could be both.
Question. So with the procedure where we're doing, where you are, I guess, pumping blood inside of the, I don't know if it's the
G-spot.
clitoris, the G-spot.
We do it, by the way, we do it
Vampire
around
vaginal?
clitoris too. You do for both.
Oh, so it's for so it's for both. So even with those types of surgeries that happen between women, does it make them have more squirting situations, or or does the
No, it
liquid
just
change?
I think makes the feeling much better
Okay.
for them. It just and it's not a surgery. It's basically in office procedure.
Okay.
It takes 5-10 minutes.
Oh, so it's not surgery.
And I have a lot of patients that already get good orgasms, and I already get good orgasms. Why should I even get this? I'm like, well, first of all, if you're asking me, it means that you're interested in it. So, but
that means there's opportunity for better.
it's always like.
It's nothing wrong, but it's time.
Somebody tells me, oh, you know what? I have this job and I'm making this amount of money, but I always want to get a promotion and make more money.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm this happy. Can I ever be happy? Yeah, you always want to be happier. You always want to make more money. You always want to get better orgasms. I mean, you can never have good enough orgasm.
Absolutely. So it's
So
always
now-
another way to come out and do it.
We're talking about the good of it. Now, I know everything has a pro and con. So what's the cons to this, if there's any?
To what? To the
To
procedures?
any of the
or-
procedures down in that area.
Or what women should shy away from? These
Because
type
when I think of
procedures,
things like this, I think of like the commercials, like happy, frolicking, yeah, we good.
And then all the
they be
little
all of a sudden,
small
like,
words.
da-da-da-da-da, organs, da-da-da-da, and
Side
death.
effects
And I'd
are-
be like, whoa, death, I could die.
side effects are blah, 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 blah.
And then she's still running around while they saying all these things that can happen, just
She's still
jumping
running
around
on
that
the
trampoline,
beach.
have herself a good time in a flower.
Well, because
field.
these are not surgeries, so they're not as abrasive, I guess, as
No,
like certain medicines.
even the surgeries like vaginal tightening and everything. I tell you the advantage and disadvantages that I tell the patients. The only problem I tell people be aware about before getting a vaginal tightening is that first of all, you can't have sex for 6 weeks.
Oh.
Which most people say, oh, I don't care, but trust me, I had a lot of my patients that
They
came,
broke the 6-week rule.
oh my God, they came, oh, you told me nothing in the vagina for 6 weeks. We had anal sex and now everything is ripped, you know. Or sorry, I didn't want to have sex, but it was just so slippery. Or,
Tone,
thought it
this
was
is for you.
great.
Stay away from them people
6 weeks
that have
so-
surgeries down there in rejuvenation.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Stay away.
Gotta get them 6 weeks.
I guess you gotta treat it like if you're having a baby. You just can't do nothing.
So
for
they
6
didn't
weeks.
abide by.
that's one thing.
The
And,
rule,
and
yeah.
then, you know, when you start having sex, I tell them you got to understand that initially the first 5, 6, 7 times, it's kind of like when you were a virgin. Things are going to be
Okay.
very tight. You need to take your time. He needs to be patient. You can't just jump in the bed and have a quickie, you know. You have to pre-lubricate. You have to take your time, all this stuff. So
See, that's so many rules, and I just want to get it done.
Now, what about, I was asking you, we were discussing something earlier about like, you know, women, like, you know, when they've had a couple of children or they, you know, get older and it's like loose change dropping out on the avenue.
Wow.
That's the way I described it. Because I
Loose
didn't know the
change dropping out on the
I
avenue.
didn't know the
But I know
medical,
they're saying. Anytime I see somebody, it look like you
Loose
got
change.
loose change dropping on the avenue.
because I didn't know the medical term for it, but you can tell everyone what that is.
So that's, I think you mean incontinence, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the word I'm looking for.
So after having kids, of course, the pelvic floor can become more lax, and or after even lifting. Some patients don't ever have vaginal deliveries, but you know, if you're lifting too much, or sometimes when you are like really obese, or you have like asthma or COPD, you cough a lot. There's a lot of pressure on the bladder. So what's going to happen is that sometimes you cough or sneeze and you feel like, oh, you keep passing urine. Most of the time it happens in patients who had a couple of kids. So what you can do, you can tighten the vagina, you can lift up the bladder, and you can do the laser vaginal rejuvenation. It lifts up the bladder and makes them feel a lot better.
And is that the procedure that's best for that sort of situation?
You know, it depends on every single patient is really different. So for some patients, laser would be the least invasive and the best one. But I feel like for a lot of patients, if they had more than 2 kids, you have to go the surgical route.
See, this is why you should listen to your mother and your grandmother. They always used to tell us, don't lift heavy things. Nah, that's what the men are for. Don't lift heavy things, see?
I used to always think that was just like a thing
No,
because I'm a girl.
those women always know. They know stuff because they didn't have access to doctors the way we do. So they know things that we don't know.
So we were having the conversation last week about the yoni eggs, and I don't get it.
Kegels.
I really don't get it.
What
I
is
get Kegels, but I don't get the egg concept. Now, have you ever recommended the egg to some of your patients as, I guess, like like a recovery type of.
As we talk,
All right.
Okay.
Do it.
As like I guess
Do your thing, baby.
I pray for you some days because I don't understand why. Like, what's wrong with
men
you?
can do Kegels, right?
Of course, you know.
By jerking
You know what?
off.
I don't even want to know what. I don't want to know. I don't want to get into it because
That's
I'm
what
gonna
I
ask the
heard.
questions I don't want to know.
That's good for your prostate.
I have
Don't
a
wanna
male.
know.
I have a male question after Vanessa asks her questions.
I just wanted to know about the eggs. Like, do you ever recommend that to somebody as like post surgery or pre surgery, anything like that, or any of the treatments? Like, this can maybe help you start loosening up or either
So
keeping it tight.
I'm very for doing your Kegels, and I teach the patients how to do Kegels, but I'm very against anything like those eggs because I've seen lots of complications and lots of infections with those.
Wow.
You know, so I mean,
Really?
yeah. So I mean, if somebody needs to relax the area, I just tell them go get like a regular toy that you can clean it, you know. And usually after like vaginoplasties, if they feel like, oh, it's too tight and, you know, the husband is like super big and they can't have sex, you know, I'm like, as a part of your foreplay, you can just buy a toy that's smaller than your husband's penis. So he can kind of use that before he starts having sex with you himself.
Would you recommend fingering? Because we had a conversation with that on air too, and I hate fingering, but I feel like
Yeah,
in that
that one.
circumstance, that may no, not the jab, poke, not the twist and turn roller coaster, not that, but in the sense of maybe
Or
that would
the-
be easy. Yeah, not this, not that
Yeah,
either.
don't do that one
But
either.
is that also something that could be, I guess, like a tool?
Yeah.
Because a finger is smaller than any of the things that I've
You know, I mean,
described.
I can't tell men not to finger, and I can't tell you not to take any fingers inside. But reality is that only your gynecologist is supposed to, you know, examine you with fingers because
Okay.
a lot of bacterial vaginosis and infections is because you and so the best thing to do if you see that they're gonna use some fingers, which I mean, you use fingers during sex. Just make sure they wash their hands really well. Also, they wash their penis, take a shower before. These are
Dear
really
God, yes.
important things. Yeah.
To all of it.
See that?
Now, are Benoit balls better because they're stainless steel as opposed to that egg thing?
Oh.
Please don't put anything inside of it.
I'm not. I'm just asking.
So
for a
that's
friend.
what I wanted to get to next, actually.
It's like I ain't putting no
About
balls up
not
there.
putting
no,
anything
no,
in-
no
in
balls
the
in my
vagina.
vagina.
You know, the things that I had to retrieve from people's vaginas.
Get out.
was-
Talk
Wait,
about
what
it.
was the weirdest thing?
The weirdest thing is that I actually, since I'm not naming any names, or
Because LSD
something-
is
names,
here.
no names.
Since LSD
Was
is
it
here,
a bottle in
I
somebody's
think you
butt?
need to listen in on this LSD about the weird things he had to take out of people's vaginas.
No.
I think this is for you.
I don't think.
I think you should listen in on this one.
I don't think LSD should listen
It's
to
like I
this
put
part.
things in. But no, what have you been like taken out of a female's
So
vagina that you were surprised?
I
actually
had a
saw?
patient. I mean, usually we get like tampons all the time. Those things are normal.
That's common.
I mean, it's
Right?
common. But no, I had a patient who was a good friend of mine too, and she was like an official. Like she has a really high job and all these things. I don't want to
Yeah.
say the job because and she
Yeah,
was my
No
neighbor.
need, no need. We
So
want to know
anyway,
what was in her
She
vagina.
comes
Yep.
one
She
morning.
was your neighbor.
No, she wasn't my neighbor. One morning, 8 in the morning, she comes to the office. She's like, somebody's looking for you. She says she knows you. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, look, I have to go to whatever meeting and I need your help. I'm like, well, I start seeing patients at 9:30, but sure, what do you need?
Yeah.
So I thought maybe she had a pregnancy test that was positive. So she shows me all her nails and she got the, you know, fake nails and everything. on.
Yeah.
And she shows that her thumb is missing.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh.
No, the acrylic popped off.
Got a tip.
Yeah. And it wasn't easy to get that out.
That's
you know?
the definition of just put the tip in. That's
Yes.
the definition.
Yes.
That is it.
I thought you were going
She
to say.
left the tip in.
I thought you was
Oh
going to say
my
something
God.
crazy
She
like
I thought you were gonna say like the story I know about the guy that had like the baseball like
my God.
trophy up his butt and he said he fell on it. I actually know the doctor that performed the surgery on the guy.
Oh my God, that must be a
Yeah.
long procedure.
He said he, didn't realize it was on the couch.
Dude. Oh my God.
That's my favorite story ever.
One
I
of the
wanna-
viewers
oh,
is
go ahead.
asking a question, but I
Go
don't
ahead.
really know what it is. I don't know if it's PV or BV. I don't know what a
BV, BV.
Okay, ask him how he feels about BV being transferred from head or
Good
oral
question.
sex.
So bacterial vaginosis is actually it's a bacteria that lives in your vagina, and the way you know that you have it is when you feel that fishy odor from the vagina. So that means that you have bacterial vaginosis most of the time. Now, whenever you are basically throwing off the pH of your vagina, you can get BV. And the pH of vagina can be thrown off by oral sex when the guy is going down on you. And to support this theory is basically the most common infection in all homosexual patients, I mean women. So all my lesbian patients and all the lesbian couples, the most common infection is actually bacterial vaginosis.
Wow.
Now it could be
Swapping
because
up
it could be because of the
fluids.
toys. Yeah, it's not just swapping the fluids. It's because you are basically throwing off the pH of the vagina. Because look, vagina is not. You're not supposed to put your fingers in the vagina. You're not really supposed to put your tongue inside the vagina. You're not supposed to wash it with soap. People say, "Oh, what about Dove?" No, nothing. Because when you use soaps, what's going to happen? You're going to end up getting a yeast infection. And that's why 70% of OBGYN office visits are yeast infection, bacterial vaginosis. These are the things that make me money, but reality is that you shouldn't be putting any of those things. And of course, oral sex is great. If the guy wants to go down on you, great, let him do it, but just stay around the clitoris. Don't do like put your tongue inside and
All
Or
the
don't-
time. All the time.
Don't
I don't know
hawk
what
a
they looking
loogie
for.
and think
Ugh!
you're gonna spit on my vagina.
All
Like
the fun
that's not
shit.
gonna help
But
either.
now,
like,
is that from like a lack of flossing?
nobody knows what you just ate. You could have a burger and fries, so now you're gonna hawk a loogie. On
Now
my
you got
vagina.
pickle vagina. Now you got
Now
pickle
I got
vagina.
pickles and McDonald's in my vagina.
You got dollar menu pussy.
Basically, the whole dollar menu is in my shit.
Now, is that from a lack of flossing? I need to know these things.
No, it's
I don't think you're flossing
have
vagina.
an
So I don't think it's a lack of
important
I'm
flossing.
saying though, but like if if it's a common thing amongst.
By the way,
Is it a
I've
lack
never
of
had this
flossing?
much fun talking about vaginas.
I'm
It's
sorry.
always a party.
We get into the vagina sometimes.
I have